I just want to start out in math lab because the first few problems are dealing with graphs. So I'm going to make this graph a little larger. And y'all, on this question, they want to know, is this even, odd, or neither? And remember, if it's even, it'll be symmetric to the y-axis. If it's odd, it'll be symmetric to the origin. Also, even functions touch the x-axis an even number of times, and odd functions will touch the x-axis an odd number of times. So on this one, it is symmetric to the y-axis. If I fold the right half over the y-axis, it'll land on the left side. So that is definitely making it even. And if you notice, it touches the x-axis 2 times, which is an even number. So y'all, this one would definitely be even. And then we'll click to the next problem. All right, this one wants to know how the given function can be obtained from one of the basic graphs. So they're giving us g of x equals x plus 3 squared plus 4. So you got to come down here and you start with the graph of, so this will be one of the 7 basic graphs we drew pictures of. And since this one has an exponent of 2 on it, this one would start with the x squared graph. So we put in the x squared. Then it says shift it blank 3 units. Well, the 3 is inside the parentheses with the x. So remember, when it's inside the parentheses, if we add, it's moving the graph left. If we subtract that number inside the parentheses, it's moving me to the right. So since they're adding 3, that's going to move us left. So you click the arrow and come down and choose left. So it went left 3 units and then shift it blank 4 units. Well, at the end, when we add a number, it goes up vertically. If we subtract a number at the end, it goes down vertically. So y'all, since we added 4, this is going to shift us up 4 units. All right, so once you've done that, we got to graph this. So what we're going to do is click to enlarge the graph. So you're going to choose the x squared tool, which is the parabola, the U shape, and then you click anywhere on the graph. It'll put the parabola in the center at that origin. So now we went left 3, so that'll be horizontal. So grab the horizontal and slide it left to -3. So it moved my graph 3 units left. Now the +4 went up 4. So on the vertical, you move that to a +4. And at that point, it moved my graph up. So it shifted my graph left and up. So we would save that and then move to the next question. All right, so this one looks like they got graphs for us to choose from. So they want to know how this function can be obtained from a basic graph. F of x equals square root x plus 5. And they're telling us we're starting with the graph of g of x equals square root of x. So we just got to figure out what that +5 is doing. So when that number is under the radical with the x, we treat it like it's in parentheses. And remember, we said if we add numbers inside the parentheses, we're going to go left. If we subtract, we're going to go right. So we're adding 5. So that's going to shift us left. So we choose left and then put in our 5 units. So y'all, let me make the graphs a little bit larger here because we got to pick out which one of these went left 5 units. So A looks like it went right. B looks like it went up. Because remember, all these graphs start in the center on the square root. C looks like it went down. So y'all, the only choice we can pick would be our D, where that graph moved left over 5 units. So we pick D, and then we move on. So let's hit next on that. Now we'll say on those, let me go back to 3. You can also graph these, y'all. So let me show you on the calculator. If you wanted to graph this to see what happened, you can go to your calculator and go to y equals and punch in the square root second x squared of your x plus 5. Now, once you graph that, you can tell it did go left 5 units. Okay, so then you're just matching that up with the graph. And that would still be D, okay? All right, let me let one in real quick. So y'all, let me write this one down. This is number 4. And it wants us to find the zeros. So I got f of v equals v squared plus 9v plus 14. All right, so we'll work that by hand, and then we'll come put in our answer. All right, so to find zeros, you want to take this function and set it equal to 0. So v squared plus 9v plus 14, set that equal to 0. Now, there's 2 ways you can solve this. You can solve it by factoring, which is the way I'm going to do, or you can plug all this into the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula is a little bit more work, but it will work to get you the 2 answers. But y'all, number 4 will factor for y'all. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. V squared means there's a V in front of both of these parentheses. Since the last number is positive, both of these factors will be positive like the middle number. And then to find the factors, I got to find factors of 14 that'll add to give me 9. So y'all, 14 is 1 times 14 and 2 times 7. So the factors of 14 that'll add to get 9 are going to be 2 and 7. So I'm just going to put in my 2 and my 7. So it's now factored. So now we got to set both of our factors equal to 0 using the 0 product rule we learned. So v plus 2 can equal 0, and then v plus 7 can equal 0.
I got a question.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you put that on either side? Like, can you put the 7 with the 2 at and the 2 with the 7 at? Or
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah, as long as they're both positive, it don't matter where you put your numbers. You could have did 7 here and 2 here. That would have worked perfect.
Appreciate it.
Only time you really got to worry about these, Devontae, is if you get the unlike signs, then it's pretty picky who's the positive and who's the negative, okay? All right, y'all, so on these, first one, we'll subtract 2 from both sides. And we'll get v is negative 2. On the second one, I'll subtract 7. And I get v is negative 7. So what we do now on these ones, we don't have to put these in ordered pairs like we have. Y'all hang on, let me get all these people in here real quick. All right, I got them. All right, so we don't have to put these in ordered pairs like we did when we did the systems of equations. Those had x's and y's. These basically just got one variable, so we just got to put them in with a comma. So let me go to Math Lab. What do we get? A negative 2, negative 7. So you just come up here and put your negative 2, comma, negative 7, and be done with that, okay? All right, y'all, so then we hit next. I'm just going to make this one larger. Now they're giving us this graph of this function, x squared minus 2x minus 15. And first they want us to find the x-intercepts. Now, y'all, the x-intercepts, since those are a point, they got to be an ordered pair. So we got to have an x value and a y value. So this first one's crossing the x-axis at -3. So that point will be -3, 0. And then close those parentheses. And then open up the next set of parentheses. And we're looking at the point on the right. And that's crossing at 5. So that point will be 5, 0. So your ordered pairs gotta have the x value and then 0 for the y, okay, since they're x-intercepts. Now, the whole purpose of this was so that y'all would realize that the solutions to this function are equal to the x values of the x-intercepts. So if my x-intercepts are -3, 0, and 5, 0, that means our solutions will be -3, 5. So you can graph these functions and look for the x-intercepts, and that'll give you the solutions or the zeros, okay? All right, y'all, so you'd put them in and click next. Oh, here comes our wire problem. So let me write down this information for number 6. So we got a wire stretched from the ground to the top of an antenna tower. So it says the wire is 13 feet long. Okay. Then it says the height of the tower. So the height of the tower is 7 feet greater than the distance D from the tower's base to the end of the wire. All right, y'all. Then they say find the distance D and the height of the tower. So find the distance D and the height of the tower. All right, y'all. So I got all that wrote down. So let's go figure out our distance D and the height of this tower. So let me go to my pad. All righty. So what we're going to do is draw a picture here. Here's my tower. And I got a wire stretched from the top of this tower down to the ground. Now, they told me that this wire was 13 feet long. All right, so let me make this right here into a triangle. Now, they're telling me this height of this tower here is 7 feet greater than this distance D from the tower's base to the end of the wire. So we'll call this D down here. So if the tower is 7 feet greater, it's going to be D plus 7. So y'all's just going to set up just like mine, other than the wire might be a different length, and you might have a different length for adding to the D, okay? So we want you to realize you got a right triangle here, so we can use the Pythagorean theorem to solve this for all the sides. So a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. Now, the only stipulation is that the longest side over here, the hypotenuse, has to be C. Now, it don't matter who A and B is, so I'm just going to call this one A and this one B. But y'all make sure the hypotenuse is your C on this, okay? So now let's just plug in what we got. For A, that'll be D squared. B will be D plus 7 squared. And that'll equal C squared, which is my 13 squared. All right, so the trick on this one is to bring down this D squared. On the side, we need to figure out what D plus 7 squared will give us. So we need to write that twice and FOIL this. Okay, also D times D gives us a D squared. D times 7 gives us a 7D. On the inside, 7 times D gives us a 7D. And then finally, 7 times 7 gives me 49. Anytime you got a binomial being squared like this, these two middle terms will always be the same. So that when we add the like terms, we're basically doubling that. So we bring down our D squared. 7 and 7 give us 14D. And then bring down our 49. We can now replace the D plus 7 squared with this. So y'all, that'll give me a positive D squared plus 14D plus 49. And then over here, 13 times 13 is 169. All right, y'all, so a few things I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is add my like terms. So 1D squared plus 1D squared to give you 2D squared plus our 14D plus 49 equals 169. All right, y'all. So at this point, we need to have a 0 over here since this is quadratic with the x squared type terms. So we need to subtract 169 from both sides. So I'll bring down my 2D squared. I'll bring down my 14D. All right, let's see. We got 49 minus 169. That's going to be a negative 120, all equal to 0. Now, these numbers are semi-big, but y'all notice all three of these numbers will divide by something. Since all four of these numbers will divide by 2, we're going to divide everybody by 2 to make our numbers just a little smaller on this one. And I've seen this happen on every one of these with the wire, okay? So make these numbers smaller by dividing by 2. So that 2 divided by 2 gives me 1D squared. 14 divided by 2 gives me 7D. 120 divided by 2 gives me 60, all equal to 0. Now, y'all, two ways to solve this. We can factor this, or we can hit it with the quadratic formula. So to me, factoring is easy. So I'm going to come in here and set it up for factoring. So the D squared will put a D in a D. Now, y'all watch out on this one. The last sign is negative. Since the last sign is negative, we'll have unlike signs on the factors. One will be plus and one will be negative. Also, since the last sign is negative, I'm going to find factors of 60 that'll subtract and equal 7. So y'all, I'm going to show you a trick I'm going to do. I'm going to use my calculator to find factors of 60. So let me go to my calculator. And I'm going to go to y equals and clear out that graph. If you want to find factors of 60, you take 60 and divide by x. So whatever number you want factors of, divide that by x, And then we go to the table by hitting second graph. So y'all, let me start up there where 0 is. So 60 won't divide by 0. That's why we get that error. But my first factor is 1 and 60. That's not going to give me a 7. 2 and 30, that's not giving me a 7. 3 and 20, that's not giving me a 7. 4 and 15, that's not giving me a 7. Y'all look there, 5 and 12. The difference of 5 and 12 is 7. So the numbers I need are 5 and 12. They're factors of 60. That'll give me a 7. Now, Devontae, this one does matter where I put my signs at on these numbers. So what you do, once you find your two numbers, remember that the larger factor or the larger number will have the same sign as that middle number. So since 12 is larger, it'll be positive like the 7 in the middle. And then my 5 will be my negative. So this one is picky where we put our numbers, okay? Now, we've got it factored. I'm going to take both my factors and set them equal to 0. So y'all, the first one, I can subtract 12 to solve this one. And I get D is a negative 12. On the second one, I'm going to add 5. And I get D is a positive 5. So the question of the day, how long is this side D? So which one of them answers are you going to keep for the D?
You're going to keep 5.
I'm going to keep the 5. Because since we're looking at distances, we won't keep these negative numbers at all. So good job. So if D is 5, how tall is my tower?
12 feet. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 12.
12 feet. Perfect. So the tower, we had to do what, 5 plus 7, which gave us our 12. All right, good job, y'all. So we'll go plug them in. So the distance was 5 we got. And then the height of our tower was 12. All right, y'all. So we punch that in. And here's the next one. Number 7 deals with the ladder. So let me write all this down. So the foot of an extension ladder is 3 feet from a wall. Then they tell us the height of the ladder reaches on the wall and the length of the ladder are consecutive integers. And y'all notice on this one, all they want to know is how long is the ladder? All right, y'all. So I got that wrote down. So let me go to the pad. So on this one, I'll be drawing me another picture on this one. So let's see, we got a wall here. And we got a ladder leaning on it. Now, the only thing they told me so far was that the foot of this ladder was 3 feet from this wall. So we know that that distance there is 3 feet. Now they told me the height that the ladder reaches on the wall here and the length of this ladder are consecutive integers. So what that means if the height it reaches on the wall is X, then the length of the ladder is going to be X plus 1. So that's what they mean by consecutive integers, is if one of these numbers is 2, to get to the next integer, I add 1 to it and get 3. Okay, if this was 5, I add 1 and that would be 6. So that's what they mean by consecutive integers. That's how you would find the next number. And y'all look at that. Once again, we got our right triangle. X plus 1, that side is our hypotenuse. So that's got to be the C. And then I'll just let this be A and B again. And we're going to plug it into our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared will equal C squared. So A for me is 3. So that's going to give me 3 squared. B is just X. So that'll be X squared. But y'all C is going to be X plus 1 squared. So on number 6 and number 7, you're going to have to FOIL an X plus something, okay? So both of these problems, we had to FOIL something. So let's play with this and see what we get. 3 squared will give me a 9. Plus my X squared. And then on the side here, we'll figure out what X plus 1 squared will give us. So like that twice and FOIL. All right, y'all. So X times X is an X squared. X times 1 is 1X. 1 times X is 1X. And then 1 times 1 is 1. So notice, once again, the two middle terms match up. So we'll add them together as like terms. So I'm going to get my X squared. 1X plus 1X gives us 2X. And then plus 1. So we can now replace X plus 1 squared with this. So we get X squared plus 2X plus 1. So at first, since we got these X squared terms, the first thing we need to try to do, since we got X squared terms, is get everything on one side equal to 0. But once I try to move these X squared terms, y'all look at that. When you try to move the X squared terms, they're going to cancel out on both sides. So all that's left will be that 9 on the left side. And on the right side, all that's left is the 2X plus 1. Okay? So y'all, let me tell you this. The only difference on y'all's problem and mine is you might not have a 3 here. Okay? But you're going to have an X plus 1 squared on that side for sure, because it's going to be the same, the length of your wall and the ladder are going to be consecutive integers. So y'all's right side will be exactly the same as mine. Only difference will be that 9 here, okay? But no, notice this is not quadratic anymore because we don't have those X squared terms no more. So all we got to do is solve this for this single X. For y'all to solve that, I'm going to subtract 1. That'll give me 8 equals 2X. And then I'm going to come divide both sides by 2. So let's see, 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. 2X divided by 2 gives me an X. So I now know that this height on the wall that the ladder reaches is 4. So y'all, the question of the day, how long is my ladder?
5 feet.
5 feet. There you go. Right. So if this was 4, 4 plus 1 made this side 5. So y'all is going to work out the same exact way, other than that 3 squared might be a 5, 7, or some other number there. Okay. All right. So let's see. We go punch in 7. No, you told me what? 5. Okay. 5 feet. There you go. All right, y'all. Then we click to the next. So I'm gonna make this one a little larger here. Oh, let me see. What's that? That looks like that point in parentheses. That looks like 1, -1. Now, don't worry about what the instructions are saying. All you got to do is find the vertex. Well, y'all, guess what? That point in those parentheses is the vertex they're giving us. So the vertex will be that point 1, -1. So this one, we're just getting used to the vertex. So that's going to be your point that's in them parentheses. Now the axis of symmetry is where I've been getting people. Notice underneath that it says type and equation. So the axis of symmetry will be x equals the x value of that vertex. Well, y'all, the x value is the 1. So just remember to put that x equals on this, okay? And then it says, hey, what is your minimum or maximum value? Well, the min or max values is always equal to the y value of the vertex. So that's going to be -1. So this one, you really didn't have to do no figuring out. You just had to figure out which one of the x or y went with the axis of symmetry and which one went with the min or max value. All right, y'all. So we fill them in and go to next. All right, so let's figure out if this is true or false. The graph of h of x equals x minus 3 squared can be obtained by translating the graph of h of x equals x squared left 3 units. So y'all, they're attacking the x inside those parentheses. So the subtracting that 3 going to move me left and make this true, or will subtracting that 3 move me right and make this false? What y'all think?
False.
Definitely going to be false. Because remember, when you subtract 3, it actually moves that thing to the right. All right, y'all. So you got that one. Let's hit next. All right, so let me write this one down. Because notice they're wanting us to find the vertex. So we're going to find the vertex. Determine if a min or max and the value. So min or max and value. They want the range. And then intervals of increasing and decreasing. Now, this one we do not have to graph. So let me write this down. F of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 5. All right, so we'll work all this out, and then we'll come throw all this back into the answer blanks. Now, what I'll do, once I find my vertex, I'm sort of going to sketch a rough graph of my graph here. And I'm just doing that for all these questions about the range and increase and decreasing, because it sort of helps to have a little bit of a sketch here to figure them out. So the first thing, let's find that vertex. So remember the vertex, I'm going to use the formula -b over 2a to get my x coordinate. And then I'll find f of negative b over 2a to get my y coordinate. So the vertex has to look like an ordered pair. All right, y'all, so the x coordinate, let's figure out negative b over 2a. So a will be 1 for this one. B will be negative 6. And then C, I really don't need, but C equals 5. So remember, these are just the numbers in front of everything, okay? So I'm going to plug these in. B is negative 6. So negative B will give me a negative times that negative 6 over 2 times my A, which was 1. So that's going to become a positive 6 on top, positive 2 on bottom, and 6 divided by 2 gives me a 3. So the x value is 3. So to get the y value, I plug that 3 back into the function, which means we're finding f of 3. So that'll be 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 5. So y'all working this out by hand. 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. Minus 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 5. All right, y'all, 9 minus 18 is a negative 9. Negative 9 plus 5 gives me a negative 4. So our vertex is 3 and negative 4. So y'all, let me go over here. Right 3. So 1, 2, 3 to the right. And it's going 4 down. So 3 right and 4 down is putting my vertex right in here. So now the question, is this vertex a minimum or maximum? So I got to look at the number in front of the x squared. If it's positive, you'll have a minimum. If this was negative, it flips it over, making a maximum. So RA was positive. So that means that this was a minimum here. And I'm just drawing that thing up. It might not look like that exactly. All I'm worried about is this vertex right here. And that was at 3, negative 4. So on the min or max, we had a minimum. And the minimum value is the y value, which is that negative 4. Now, what's funny, I'll show you what's funny on this one when we go to the, I think this is the one. It might not be, but we'll see. Now, the range. The range is the y values. So we know negative 4 is the smallest y value. And y'all, here's the thing on the range. Since negative 4 is the smallest y value, you start with that negative 4. And on the range, you got to use a bracket around negative 4 because it's included in the range. Now, this range starts at negative 4 and goes up towards positive infinity. Now, y'all, if you would have had a negative x squared and say yours was flipped over, when they're flipped over, they start at negative infinity and go to whatever your maximum number would be, okay? So remember, if you got a max, it's going to start at negative infinity and go up towards your maximum number. So only do that if you got a negative x squared. All right, so my range started at negative 4, went to infinity. Now they want to know my increasing and decreasing intervals. So increasing for me is the right side of the graph that's going uphill. So what I need to know is what X value does this start going up and where's it headed towards? We all?
Positive infinity.
Oh, what did you just say? I think you said it.
Positive infinity.
And it's going to start at what, that 3 and heads towards positive infinity. Good job. How about decreasing? Decreasing is coming in from the left side. Somewhere out here, it's coming in and it's decreasing until it gets to that same X value of 3. So the question is, where's it coming in from?
Negative infinity.
So negative infinity and then till 3. So y'all be careful. On the range, you use the Y value. On the intervals of increasing and decreasing, you're using the X value. And the intervals are always in parentheses, okay? The only thing that's going to have a bracket is on that range. Well, all right, y'all, let's go put all this in. I think they got multiple choice on the increasing and stuff. So first you would put in that vertex. Now remember, it's got to look like an ordered pair. And on that, we had a 3, -4, close parentheses. Then mine opened upward and had a minimum. So I would click A. And the minimum value was the Y value of a -4. Then the range, we went from 4. So you got to use the bracket on your keyboard. So it started at the bracket, -4, comma, and then went to infinity and used the curved parentheses on your infinity. All right, let me see. It's increasing on, so those were parentheses from 3, infinity. And then it was decreasing on, so those are in parentheses, and that went from negative infinity, to R3. So y'all, you put all that in, and then you get to go to next. All right, y'all, let me write this one down. I'm just going to write the formula down. So the toy rocket is shot vertically into the air from a launching pad 7 feet above the ground. Initial velocity 104 feet per second. So they're telling me the height h in feet of the rocket above the ground at t seconds after launch is given by the function h of t equals -16 t squared plus 104 t plus 7. So they want to know, how long will it take the rocket to reach maximum height? So how long to reach maximum height? Then they want to know, what is the maximum height? All right, so I got my information. So let me go to my pad. Now, y'all, here's the thing on this one. The time it takes it, how long to reach the maximum height, that's going to equal our X value. And then the actual maximum height will be the Y value. And I'm going to use my vertex formula because what's happening, the rocket takes off, and as time goes up, it's going to reach a peak up here. Then it's going to start coming back down. So we're looking for that little peak there. That is our vertex. So we'll use the vertex formula. negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. Okay, so that'll give me my time. That'll give me the height. So for our x value, negative b over 2a will be negative 104 over 2 times that negative 16. So a is negative 16, b is 104, c will be 7. All right, y'all, so I get a negative 104 divided by a negative 32. So y'all, let me see what that's going to give me. So what do we have? Negative 104 divided by negative 32. That's going to give me 3.25. So part A is answered. How long did it take to reach maximum height? 3.25 seconds. Now, to find that maximum height, I'm going to put 3.25 in for both of these t's. So we're finding h of 3.25 seconds. So this means it'll find me the height at 3.25 seconds, which will be negative 16 times 3.25 squared plus 104 times 3.25 plus 7. So I just took this equation and put in my 3.25. So y'all, that looks like a job for my calculator. So let me share the calculator screen. So let me quit this screen. Whoops. All righty. So I had negative 16. Parentheses 3.25. Close parentheses and square that. Plus 104 times 3.25 close parentheses, and then at the end was a plus 7. All right, y'all, we hit enter. We'll have how high my rocket went, and my rocket went 176. So 3.25 and 176. So let's go to the math lab. Now notice they already give us the seconds. So all we got to do is put in 3.25 for the seconds. And then on the feet was 176. Okay, so y'all going to get different times and different feet. I've seen these rockets go up to 700 feet on some people. So this depends on what that equation is they're giving you. But y'all punch them in and we hit next. All right, so I'm going to write this one down. So they want us to find domain on number 12. And they're giving us f of x equals a square root 2x plus 7. All right, y'all, so we'll work that out and then we'll pick out A, B, C, or D. All right, so since this is a radical, member, to find a domain of a radical, we take what we call the radicand under the radical. And you're going to set 2x plus 7 greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Because remember, this has to be greater than or equal to 0. If it's a negative number, then I get imaginary answers, and they're not real numbers. So solve this. So we'll start out by subtracting 7. So the 2x is left on the left side. That's going to be greater than or equal to a negative 7. Divide by 2. Now notice, I did not reverse this inequality because I did not divide by a negative number. You only flip that when you divide by negative numbers. So y'all, 2 divided by 2 gave me 1x greater than or equal to -7/2. So you'll find one of these answers that'll have this in it, okay? So x has to be greater than or equal to -7/2. And y'all, let's see, that'd be A for me. Now notice, they'll have the same answer on all of them. You just got to figure out if it's greater than or equal, less than or equal, not equal. And the only way it's going to be anything other than greater than or equal is if that x is negative, okay? If your x is positive, it's got to be the greater than or equal one on those, okay? All right, y'all, so we head on to number 13, says graph it. Now, I'll graph this on the calculator. But let me ask y'all this. What's that +5 done to this graph? Because remember, you're attacking. Do what?
Moved it up 5.
Oh, not up 5, because remember, it's inside the radical. It's sort of like you're in parentheses. So that's either going to go left or right.
It moved it to the left 5?
It's going to move it to the left 5. So that would be what? A B on that one. So let's graph that and make sure. So let's go to calculator, go to y equals. I'm going to clear that. And we're going to hit second x squared for the radical. And then I had what, an x plus 5, I think. So put in your x plus 5 and then hit graph on that one. And notice it did move it to the left 5 units, okay? So A went right 5, B went left 5 like we needed. C, well, there's no way we can reverse them, okay? So they can't go the wrong direction. So C is totally out of it. And then D did go up 5, so watch out, okay? All right, y'all, same thing. But here's the thing. These are pretty hard to tell. Now, we're subtracting from the x. Remember when we subtracted from those x's inside the parentheses, they went right. But y'all, this is, but it's not going to go right a total of 3 because that 8's in front of the x. So it's barely going to go right. So I'm going to actually graph this on my calculator. So let me see what I got. I got g of x is a square root 8x minus 3. Now, y'all, will say this. B is out of the question because B is just a straight line. And D is out of the question because D is going the wrong way. Remember, these go uphill to the right. So let's graph this. I'm going to go to y equals and clear that one. All right, so my radical will be second x squared. And then I had an 8x minus 3. So y'all, I'm going to go up here and hit my graph button. So notice, whoo, that barely went to the right. Barely went to the right. So let's see which one of these graphs look like it barely went to the right. Whoo, y'all, I think I'm going to pick, let's look at A more. A looks like it went to the right. And C, if you look at it, looks like it's starting on the left side of it. So the one that went to the right would be A. Ooh, so mine was pretty tight. Most of them I've seen had a little more space in them. You could tell easier. But yeah, that was tricky, y'all. Because it barely moves on some of these. So be careful and zoom them graphs in. But realize it's not ever going to be B, which is a straight line, and it'll never be D because it can't reverse that direction. Okay. All righty, y'all. Then we hit 15. We can do this in the right where we're at. So they're giving me a piecewise function. F of x equals 8x for any x less than -2. It equals x minus 3 if -2 is less than or equal to my x less than 1. And it's going to equal x squared for any x's greater than or equal to 1. So y'all, let me show y'all a trick on this. On that, when you're looking at a number line, 0's in the middle, and then it's positive to the right, negative to the left. Any number to the right of another number is greater than that number. So these numbers, as I go left towards negative infinity, are less than any of the numbers to the right of them, okay? So remember this when we look at these questions. So they want us to find f of -2. Is -2 less than -2? If it is, I'm going to use the 8x. Is -2 greater than or equal to -2 less than 1? If that's true, I'll use x minus 3. And then if -2 is greater than or equal to 1, I'll use the x squared equation. So y'all, you got an A, B, and a C over here. Which one of those would I use to find f of -2?
X minus 3.
X minus 3, perfect. Because -2 less than or equal to my x of -2. Well, that equal makes that one true. Remember, I can only use the first one if it's less than -2, okay? All right, y'all, so we get that. Let's see what 16 has. Okay, so this one, we got a picture here, so I'll make this larger. Now they're giving me the vertex, -5.5 and 2.25. Also, this is the one that I was thinking, you can't miss the relative min or max, because look at the next line under that. You see where it says that the function have a relative max or min, and you choose? Well, y'all, what's the next line say? The relative maximum occurs at x equals blank and has a value of blank. Well, by them saying that, that automatically tells me I probably got a relative maximum on this, right? So choose relative maximum because it's got a peak there. So let's see. The relative maximum occurs at x equals, what's that? -5.5. And has the value of, well, y'all, the value is the y value. And let's see, that looks like 2.25. Okay, so the x value goes where the x equals, the y value goes on the value part. So let's see if y'all can do my increasing. Y'all, it's increasing on the left side of this parabola. So this left side where my cursor is the part that's increasing. So A, B, C, or D?
C.
So negative, oh, perfect. Because it's coming in from negative infinity and cruising until it hits the x value of -5.5. So good job on that one. So how about my decreasing then? A, B, C, or D?
D.
Are you saying delta or bravo?
Delta.
Delta, there you go. So y'all, from that -5.5 on the x-axis, as I head out towards infinity, is definitely decreasing. So you're looking at the x values on those intervals. All right, y'all, that looks like it on that one. So I think we got one more of those coming up. So let me make this one a lot bigger. All right, so I can see the left hump is -2, -1. And then the little valley, that looks like 6. Woo, -33. So this one has a relative maximum, which is the hump, and a relative minimum, which is the valley. Now notice, this one's going in different order than the one I just did. This one wants to know what is the relative maximum value, and then it wants to know the x value. So y'all, the relative maximum on that is a y value of a -1. And that happens at the x value of a -2. So watch when they try to get that order reversed on you, okay? So y'all, my relative minimum is a -33. And that happened at the x value of a +6. All righty. On what intervals is it increasing? And y'all notice, you got two parts of this graph going uphill from left to right. So let's get this first part right over here. What interval is that first part increasing on? So y'all, that one's what, coming in from -infinity, cruising down to x's until we hit negative. So you said
-infinity to -2, and then 6 to +infinity.
oh, perfect. So you all got the right half already. Yeah. So that right half starts cruising at 6 on the x's to infinity. All right. So you just said C, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And they had another one that had the -infinity, -2, but then they somehow went from 2 to 6. I don't even know where they got them numbers at. So that 2 to 6, who knows? So C, definitely. All righty. Then what part is this decreasing on? A, B, C, or D?
B.
So -2 to 6. Good job. And you'll notice these intervals will connect. -infinity to -2 uphill, then that -2 to 6 downhill, and then back up to that 6 to infinity. So they all sort of fit together like puzzles on those. All right, y'all, let me see my chat's kicking in. Back, okay, so let me go to 17. Someone wanted to see my max and minimum, so let me scroll back up. Okay, so it should be showing. All right, y'all good? All right, y'all, let me write this number 18 down real quick. So they're giving me h of x equals, so a piecewise function, -4x minus 9 if my x's are less than -7. It equals 5 if -7 is less than or equal to my x, which is less than 5. And then it equals x plus 3 for any x's that are greater than or equal to 5. So they want us to find h of -9, h of -3, h of 5, and h of 6. Now, y'all, here's the thing on this one. They don't care what equation I'm using for the answers. They want me to pick which equation I'm going to use, put those x values in, and get a single answer out of this. Okay, so we're actually evaluating these things now. So h of -9. We got to figure out, is -9 less than -7? True or false?
True.
So it's true, so I got to use this first equation. So I'll take my -4 times my x, which is -9, and then subtract 9. So y'all, negative times negative makes that a positive 36 minus 9. And y'all, what's that? 36 minus 9 looks like what? A 27. So 27 is the answer they want for h of -9. Okay? They don't care what equation I'm using. They want me to give them the final answer. So h of -3. Is -3 less than -7? True or false?
False.
Is -3 greater than or equal to -7, but yet less than 5? True or false?
True.
So since that's true, what does h of -3 equal?
5.
5. And y'all, there's no variable on that. So any number that's in between that -7 and less than 5 equals 5 no matter what. All right, h of 5, let's see, h of 5. Well, we know it's not going to be less than -7 because y'all done did that one. So is this 5 greater than or equal to -7 and less than 5? True or false?
False.
So is my 5 greater than or equal to 5? True or false?
True.
True. So we use this x plus 3 equation and put our 5 in for that x. And y'all, what's that? 5 plus 3 gives us an 8. So they're not that bad. You just got to figure out where does your x value fall. And y'all, finally, h of 6. Well, we know if 5 was greater than or equal to 5, then 6 has to be greater than or equal to 5. True, right? So since 6 is also greater than or equal to 5, we use the third equation. So put a 6 in for the x, and I get 6 plus 3, which is 9. So guess what? If they give you 4 of these numbers, 2 of them have to be using the same equation, okay? Because you only got 3 equations in here. All righty, y'all. So let me go stand in on my number 18 real quick, and then we'll see what 19 has to store for us. So we got a 27. We got a 5. We got an 8. And then we got a 9. All right, y'all, you plug them in, hit next. So these are dealing with the difference quotient. So they're giving me f of x equals 5x plus 2. Now, our formula, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So I'll work this, and we'll come back and plug that in, and then we'll look at number 20. So they're giving me f of x. The bottom's always h. So what we got to find is this f of x plus h. So let's find f of x plus h by taking the f of x and putting the x plus h in for that x. And then bringing down our 2. And you always want to use parentheses when you put in that x plus h, because then you get to distribute the 5. So we get 5x plus 5h plus 2. So y'all, there's no like terms here. So this is all f of x plus h now. So I'm going to put mine in parentheses, 5x plus 5h plus 2. minus my f of x, which is 5x plus 2, all that over h. And y'all, this is where we came in and distributed our subtraction. So we brought down to 5x plus 5h plus 2. Negative times positive made that a negative 5x. Negative times positive made that a negative 2. All of that over my h. So then y'all looked at the top and you started looking at like terms. Because remember, the like terms on top are actually going to cancel out. So this 5x canceled with the negative 5x. This 2 canceled with that negative 2. All that's going to be left has h's on top. So that's going to be the 5h divided by h. And y'all remember my last step was to cancel those h's out. And I get a final answer of 5.
On problems like this, the answer will always be the coefficient, right?
On number 19, yeah, because since this is a straight line, the slope is always going to be that number in front of the x. So y'all remember that y equals mx plus b form? So straight lines you can sort of, because that's all this is a fancy slope formula. So yeah, true on that one. But what you got to watch out, y'all, is for this number 20 about to come up. So let me go to put in that one. We got what, a 5? Yeah, and you probably noticed that y'all done enough of these that on this one like this with the line, it always ended up being that coefficient. But y'all, number 20, same thing, but look what they're giving me. F of x equals 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. All right, so let's go to our pad. And y'all, we're still using our difference quotient, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So the fun part on this one is getting your x plus h. So put an x plus h in for each of these x's. So 2 times x plus h squared plus 7 times x plus h plus 6. All right, y'all, so I'm going to fill in. So hopefully y'all wrote what x plus h squared equals, because that's what I'm about to put in here. And I'll remind y'all that x plus h squared in the long run equal to x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. So save that for when y'all do this problem. X squared plus 2hx plus h squared. And then I'm just bringing everything else down. All I did was square that at the moment. Now I distribute the 2 through the first parentheses, 7 through the second parentheses. So 2x squared plus 4hx plus 2h squared. This one will give me a 7x plus 7h, and then bring down my plus 6. And y'all, none of those are like terms. So all of this is f of x plus h. So I'm going to put them in my parentheses now. Woo, minus my f of x, which is 2x squared plus 7x plus 6 all over my H. Now, instead of writing all this again, I'm going to do my canceling out right here because we know 100% these three are going to cancel. Everything in the second parentheses always cancels. So this 2x squared cancels with a 2x squared. 7x cancels with 7x. The 6 cancels with the 6. All right, y'all, so that leaves me a 4hx plus my 2h squared plus my 7h all over h. So Devontae, is your little system still working on these?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what'd you get, a 4x? So the h is canceled there. 1h cancels in the middle, leaving us what, a 2h? And y'all at the end, that h cancels, leaving us a 7.
But it like the when it's a negative in there, it kind of like change it up though, where it's a like I feel like the first number is a negative and the second number be a negative. When
Oh, like a negative 2x squared and stuff. Yeah, so that's the main thing on these is keeping up with them signs and all this distributing going on. All right, y'all. So let's see. We get to put in a 4x, 2h, and a 7. Whoops. So 4x plus, let me see, plus is a shift equal. Want to get 2h. And then plus my 7. So yeah, 19 you can pretty much get from the coefficient on that one. This one's a little trickier. All right, y'all. Oh, that's the last one. So we would submit our quiz at that point. I didn't know it would grade me, actually. So I guess it is. Oh, y'all, we did good. So same thing for y'all, okay? Do your study guide. Get you a good grade on the study guide and then knock out this test. The test is due by Sunday night at midnight, okay? All right, so y'all, any questions? Now, remember Thursday, we will start new material for chapter 3.